march up to know love and peace. Let's say thanks to the police all around, especially in town.
Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show. TTPS joins us on Now every single Monday, well, most Mondays. And this morning we welcome back Inspector Michelle Lewis. Good morning to you, Inspector.
Good morning to you, sir.
And how are you this morning?
Tobago. I'm good. A little sniffle, but I'm well.
Huh?
A little sniffle, but I'm well.
A little sniffle, all right. Well, you keep that. I don't want to share your sniffles this morning. However, I would like you to share some information with us.
Yes.
This morning we're talking safety, home and community safety. What are some of the things that we can do as communities to be able to make our space, our areas, our communities feel safer?
Yes, so this morning we're looking at neighborhood watch groups. Neighborhood watch groups from the aspect that home invasion is still something that the TTPS has recognized that is still impacting the communities. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways that the communities can proactively reduce home invasions within their space is to have that level of empowerment within themselves as a community, and so neighborhood watch groups are one strong way in which that is done.
How do you go about creating a neighborhood watch group?
Well, in the first instance, you need someone in the community who has that interest, who has that desire to have that kind of network and synergy with the community, and it doesn't have to be a very, very big community. It could just be several streets in a community, perhaps a gated, but it doesn't even need to be a gated, just particular cordon of area within a community and the police. Now, even though the community watch groups are with the police, the community, the residents themselves are the ones who are in charge of it. They are the ones who actually have the power. They're the ones who control it, and we just give the guidance. So you have like a community, a volunteer from the community who would bring the community together, and who would also have that first meeting with the police to tell us, well, we want to set this up. How can you guide us to do so? Okay. And the police would come in with the community, with the residents, and lay out how this can be done. And bringing in also other stakeholders who would be able to give some advice. Right. Now, even though we know that crime and criminality is one aspect of it that nobody really wants to experience, there are things that we can do, and there are other agencies that can support or decrease that level of crime and criminality. For example, 555 and other agencies that will come in and chat with the community. Okay. When you look at neighborhood watch groups, there's also the SIPTED, what we call crime prevention through environmental design, where things like the lighting,
just making the community feel safer in one instance.
But by things that you will do. So you may like plants and that kind of thing, but you have to be very cognizant that if you have, a lot of bushy plants.
It's a good hiding spot.
It's a good hiding spot if you have dark spaces, if you have community areas that are overgrown bushes, like parks and that kind of thing. These are things that you need to pay attention to.
So in that regard, Inspector, if it is that we say, all right, we're forming a community group and we want to be able to be a safer neighborhood watch group, right? Yeah. Is it important to have the entire neighborhood agree to it and be a part of it? Or if you always have that one or two neighbors who they just don't want to be a part of nothing. They don't want to be a part of no group or no community or nothing. They want to live their life on their own terms.
You will always get that. You may not always get 100% buy-in, but if you get 60-80% buy-in, you're good to go. Okay. Because you have, within that community space that we speak of, you may have captains for particular streets or blocks, right? People say blocks, we say street. So that you wouldn't use the person who is not interested. Right. You'll use someone who is very much interested and wants to see, their community get better and safer. So that person will be responsible for, with a team of persons, to looking out for that particular area. Now, it's important when you have community watch groups that there's a nice networking taking place. And WhatsApp gives you that. It gives you that opportunity to easily communicate with each other. If you recognize that there's a stranger in your area, you post it in the chat. And a lot of times we encourage you within that security, safety chat that you have a police officer from the station district within that chat.
Okay.
If you have a police officer who lives in the area, better yet. But if not, a police officer from the station district, so that when anything happens, the officer seeing the information.
And is aware of it.
And is aware of it. And even if the officer is in the chat and they call him, he know, well, listen, this is somebody from the community who's calling. There's a concern. Right. Because generally you will call because there's a situation that, you know,
you call into line.
No, you don't call into line. You're calling because, you know, we need your input now. It's more than we can handle.
Right.
Right? So having that police officer in that neighborhood watch chat really helps. Now,
Inspector, as a police officer, right,
yes.
Does it get ever overwhelming or annoying? Because sometimes I know that they might have people in the communities, in certain communities, that might say they might be calling and think it's an emergency in their head, right?
Right.
But it's not necessarily an emergency for the police to get involved.
Right.
Whatever reasons it may be that may be of heightened concern to them, but it may not be of security or crime concern to you, and it may not be a top priority.
Right.
How do you navigate, or how do you suggest people filter how they determine what is important to call versus what is important that they could send a message in the WhatsApp group and wait for a response?
Yeah, so we encourage that. Generally, when you have a neighborhood watch group, there's usually a committee and a lead. And most times when within a community, if there's something of a concern, the community would generally or to communicate with that lead. Of course, if it's, you know, a crisis situation or one that is high risk, or you're seeing the crime, somebody in the area, you would send an alert quicker than communicating directly with that person. So you try to avoid persons just, you know, calling for, you know, and then to use the term cry wolf. Right? When really and truly you want when a real situation happens. So there are persons who genuinely may not be aware. And so sometimes you have to be patient with such persons to get them accustomed to, well, listen, these are the things that you would call the police for, and these are the things that we can treat with internally. Because they will get that, right? But community watch group, it really empowers the community and it brings the community together. It also causes the community to have that level of accountability for themselves. So that if a resident has different vehicles or guests coming into their space, it means that you'll have to let the other residents know, all right, this is these people are safe, they are okay, they're with me. So that when there's a strange vehicle, we'll be able to identify it.
But what happens in situations where, you know, you drive through many neighborhoods and you see, for example, a mechanic in the neighborhood, so you have people come in and they have a bunch of cars lining up the road and that sort of thing. Does that pose a threat to the community, or is it that the community should be understanding, well, this is your trade and you're plying your trade, and, you know, we just have to be aware as to who is coming when they come in, kind of thing? Yeah,
so of course that's the person's trade. So the residents certainly will have to be, you know, very accommodating towards it, because that's the person's trade at their homes, at their space. But certainly the owner of that premises, the owner of the business, would also have to take into account the security risk of the other residents and the concerns that they will have, and work along with them.
Right.
So that if the vehicle comes within, you know, a 2-3 home span, you know that, okay, the person is going by the garage. But when you have vehicles traversing and going up and down in the community, it will raise some concerns. Now, with the community watch groups, even though it is there as a safety net, and it has the police involvement, so you have where you can bring in persons to talk with the community members, with the residents, the neighbors, and let them know other things that you can do. For example, there are the air horns that you can use. You can put action plans in place. Should something happen, what will we do? And those kind of things help to reduce home invasions in an area. Because when someone comes into that area and they recognize that there is
cohesion.
Correct. And there's a mechanism that is working, they will not come again. Certainly having things in your yard like your whacker and all those things would put you at risk. So we do encourage you still to be very mindful of the items that you have straying in your yard, right? But certainly that network with the community watch group strengthens that bond and that net that prevents and reduces home invasion.
Yeah, so we go back to the idea of living like a village.
Yes, certainly.
And taking care of each other and looking out for each other.
Yes, certainly.
Any final words before we wrap this morning, Inspector?
Well, of course, the police service, where if you see something, say something. And that is where that also comes in. Dial 999-555-800 tips. And the police continue to work with the residents. If you really want to you want to have a community watch group in place, just call the station district, the officers, and we'll be there. We will give you the support that is necessary to have that safe space in your community.
Inspector Michelle Lewis, ladies and gentlemen, joining us representing the TTPS this morning, and we're chatting about home and community safety neighborhood watch groups. We take a quick break and we come back with more in our morning show. Stick around.
Like a battle zone, but nowadays and so I and all chuck to know love and